Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Namaskar dear students, welcome to the course on cross-platform application development using Flutter. In today's session, we are going to get demonstration of different widgets. In last session, we have learned how to write a basic app using our own code that displays greeting message in the center of screen. In today's session, we will get two more demonstration to extend the functionality and understand more widgets. So let's start. The objective of today's session is differentiate between main, stateless widget and stateful widgets. We will also learn how to use text field widgets to collect input data from user. We will understand how to use text editing controller to access and control the content of a text box. We will learn how to create a button and assign an on press function to it. We will also learn how to reflect user interaction like button press by updating the user interface with set state method, and we will also learn how to display output dynamically. We also use basic layout widgets like column, padding and size box. So let us start with our first Flutter widgets demonstration. On screen you can see we want to write an app that displays greeting text and elevated button, and when the user taps the button, a snack bar appears at the bottom of the screen with message button is clicked. You can see on the screen that at the bottom in black box it displays button is clicked. So it is called snack bar. So here we have add more functionality. We have not just display tag, but whenever button is clicked, we want to display in a snack bar that button is clicked. If you are familiar with Android, it is something like toast. This is our first app. Now whenever we think of any app, we have to be clear about its widget hierarchy. On screen you can see that we have my app, which is of type material app, and inside that we have scaffold, and inside center we have create builder. Now what is builder we will learn in a short while, and inside builder there is a child called column which display one text hello world, and there is a size box to make space between text and button, and then there is a elevated button which displays click me using text widgets, and in app bar we want to display text my home page. So this is our widget tree. Now whenever you write down app, you must have clear idea about your widget tree or widget hierarchy. Then you can easily understand or write code. This is our first demonstration in which we learn basic functionality like what to do when button is clicked and how to use snack bar in your app. The second Flutter widget demonstration, we will write an app which allows the user to type message in a text field and display it when button is clicked. For example, here you can see my app. Here is a text box and this is the app bar where it displays enter and show message, and whenever this show message button is pressed, and if I write down Dr. BAOU inside this text field, and after that if I press this show message button, it should display that text in a blue color at the bottom of button. So this is our second demonstration. Now here based on user input and button click we will update user interface. So this is a example of stateful widgets. Previous demonstration is an example of stateless widgets, but here since user interface is changed we can say it is example of stateful widgets. Now again let us look at the widget tree of this app. So there is a material app inside which we display one widget which is called message input app, which is a stateful widgets. Why it is a stateful widgets? Because we want to update user interface whenever this button is pressed based on user input. So message input app again consists of scaffold. Inside scaffold we have padding. Now what is use of padding? You can see that there is a space between text box and border of the screen. So this is called padding. So we will use this padding feature. Then there is a column. If you see, this is a text field, this space is a size box, and this show message is a elevated button, and below that you can see there is a text, and between these two there is a size box. So inside column we have text field, then size box, then elevated button, then again size box, and finally we have text. And inside app bar we want to display enter and show message. So I hope you are clear about this widget tree. If you have some basic idea about widget tree, then it is very easy to write down code. So whenever you think of any design, you must have clear idea about widget hierarchy or widget composition or widget tree. So let us start writing this demonstration in a Visual Studio Code. Open Visual Studio Code. Now we want to create new application. So press Ctrl Shift P and select Flutter new project. After that you have to select application. Now you have to select folder where you want to create your application. So select folder to create the project. Then you have to write down name of applications. So here I given name demonstration 1 and press enter. Now after that it will create project structure for you. So here you can see this is my project structure, and inside lib there is a main.dart file. Flutter provide you with some default functionality. So here I want to write my own code. So I am selecting all and clicking delete to remove all the content. Now before we start writing code, let's remember our widget tree for app 1. So here I am opening that file. First statement we write down is import, and inside that we write down package, then Flutter, and inside that we have to select material.dart file. Entry point for our app is main function. So we write down main, and inside main we write down runF function to run a widget. So here I write down runF, and inside that I am writing my app. Now what is my app? My app represent widget that we want to show on the screen. So here you can see our screen. So after main we must write down class my app that extends stateless widget. Now why stateless widget? Because there is no change in user interface when button is pressed. So this is example of stateless widgets. So we extend stateless widgets, and inside that we have to write down one method called build. So when I write build, it suggests me to override build. So I am clicking on that. Now inside build we have to return widget. Inside build I write down return. Now we want to return material app. I write down material app, and inside material app we want to write down home, which is nothing but scaffold. Now scaffold consists of two things. One is app bar. So app bar is represented by app bar. Now here you can see in app bar I want to display my home page. So here I write down title with text my home page. Now what you can do is you can press Ctrl S to save our code. So it will automatically format our document. So now app bar is created. After app bar we have to create this body. Now rest of this part is called body. So these represent app bar. So after that I have to write comma to write down body. Now what is body? Body is represented by center. Here you can see that all widgets are in center. So inside body I want to write down center, and inside center I want to create builder. So as a child I write down builder, and inside builder, I want to write down using these construct context and opening and closing bracket. So these represent widgets written by builder. So I am clicking on this. Now again press Ctrl S, so it will reformat your document. Now inside context, we must return column. Now column consists of three childrens. You can see text, size box and elevated button. So inside column, we write down children, and inside children, we want to create three widgets. First is a text which represent hello world. So I'm clicking on text, and inside data we write down hello world to display text. The second is a size box which is a space between hello world and click me button. So second we want to write down is sized box and its height is 20 pixel. So I write down 20, and after that we want to create these elevated button. So in case of button, we have two parts. One, what to do when this button is pressed, which is called on press, and second is a child that displays this text, click me. So inside elevated button, we have to specify two things. So I write down elevated button. So here in on press, we can write down anonymous function. So here I am clicking on second option, which is anonymous function, which is called when button is pressed. So I am clicking on that, and inside child we want to write down text. So here I write down text which displays click me. So now we write down elevated button on pressed method. So what we want to do inside this on pressed event, whenever this button is clicked, I want to display in a snack bar that button is clicked. So here I write down one class scaffold messenger that you can see in the list, scaffold messenger dot. Here we have to select off method. So inside of there is a context, and after that we have to call its show snack bar method. So here you can see show snack bar. So I am clicking on that, and inside snack bar we actually display snack bar. So here I write down snack bar, and inside content we want to display text which is nothing but button is clicked. So now our code is ready. I am making this full screen so that you can better understand code. So we have created material app, and inside home we write down scaffold. Inside that we write down app bar and body. Now body consists of widgets align in center. So we write down center, and its child is nothing but builder. So inside builder we have to return column with children, text, size box and elevated button. And inside elevated button we want to implement on pressed method. So inside on pressed we write down snack bar display using scaffold messenger dot off dot show snack bar method, and inside that we pass argument snack bar with content button is clicked. Next we want to paste these code inside emulator. Now here you can see there is a underline in my app. So here you can click quick fix and you can add constructor. So these will remove. Now I want to test. So again press Ctrl Shift P and launch emulator. So it will ask you which emulator you want to launch. So I am clicking on emulator name. Now it will launch our emulator. So here you can see my app is currently running in emulator, and whenever I click on this elevated button, so it displays button is clicked. So I hope you understand various widgets and how to use them using your widget tree. We write down second demonstration. We have to press Ctrl Shift P and create new project. Inside that we have to select application. Inside that we have to select folder. Here I want to give name demonstration 2. So after writing demonstration underscore 2, press enter. Now it will create new project called demonstration 2 that you can see on the screen. Again it write default functionality inside main.dart file. We don't want that. So Ctrl Control A, which selects entire main.dart file content, and press delete to remove entire content. Now we write down this code from scratch. So very first statement we write down is import, and inside import we have to write down package, then Flutter, and then material.dart to use material design. Now this is our second app that you can see on the screen. So here this part is a stateful widgets. Why? Because whenever I type some text and press this show message button, I want to display that text inside text. So UI is changing. So here we make use of stateful widget. So let us start writing main function. Inside main, we must call run app method, which call my app like previous example. Now we write down class my app, which extends again stateless widget. Now why we write down stateless widgets? Because this body is represented by another widget or app. So the entire app is stateless, but this body part widget is a stateful widget. So that's how we have to understand. Now inside my app, we want to implement build method. So here I write down override build option, and inside that we must return widget which represent stateful widget. So here I write down return, then material app, and inside material app we want to display home. Inside home screen, so this entire white portion is a my app which displays on home another widget called message input app. So here I write down message input app. Now we must define these message input app. So we write down class message input app that represent or extends stateful widget. So now you can see these my app is represented by message input app, but my app is a stateless widget. But inside stateless widgets, this entire white portion is a message input app which is a stateful widget. So inside message input app, which is a stateful widget, we must override one method called create state. And for that, we must define one class called, which is message input app state, which extends state of message input app. So we must define one class which extends stateful widgets, and we must define one class message input app state which extends state to represent message input app state. Now inside these we must return message input app state by create state method, and we must initialize it to object of message input app state. Now inside these message input app state, we must override one method called build. So inside build, we must return updatable state. So here we must return these widget tree. So here I write down return, and then here we must return scaffold. Inside scaffold, we must have app bar, which is represented by app bar, and its title is nothing but text that displays enter and show message. Here you can see enter and show message. After app bar, we must define body. Inside body, we must define this padding first. So here you can see that this text field is far from border. So this is padding. So here we first specify padding. Now inside padding, we must specify all insets. So I call edge insets.all, and we set its value to 16 pixels. Now you can see here we have specified padding. After padding, we must specify its child, which is nothing but column. You can see these 5 widgets are in column format. So first is text field, then size box, then elevated button, then again size box, and then text. So inside child, we want to specify column layout. And inside column, I write down main axis alignment to align all the widgets into center. So you can see here inside column, we specify main axis alignment to center, and then we specify all the children using children. Now there are 5 children. So first is a text field. So we must specify text field. Now if you see this text field, so whatever text written by user inside text field can be accessed using text editing controller. So we must specify controller of type text editing controller. Now where to define this controller? So you can define that at a class level. So here we create field controller. So here you can see it defines variable, but we want to declare it as a text editing controller, and we create instance of text editing controller. So we bind this controller with text field so that we can access its text using these variable or object called underscore controller. Second, we want to specify these label text, which is enter your message. So here we have write down enter your message, which is also written inside this text field when empty. So how to specify that? So for that we must use decoration, and inside decoration we must specify input decoration, and inside input decoration we specify these label text. Now what is that label text is? It says enter your message. Now save. So it will automatically format your document, and after label text we must specify border, and inside border I write down outline input border. So here you can see border. So these label text directly you can write down string. So remove these. So now that error gone. After text field we must specify sized box, and height is 20 pixel, and after that we must specify elevated button. We have already used elevated button. So here you can directly implement your on pressed method using anonymous function, or you can define function explicitly like show message, and inside child we want to display text show message that you can see here. Elevated button text is show message, and these show message function we must define to execute when a button is pressed. After elevated button we must specify again size box with height again 20 pixels, and after that we display text. So these text is dynamic. So for displaying this text we declare one display message variable of type string, and we want to display it in a blue color. So we must specify style. Inside style we can specify text style, and inside text specify font size, for example 22, and we can also specify color to some constant using colors dot and then color name. So here we want to use blue color, so I click on blue. Now save these. Now we must define these of type string. So here at class variable I must define these display message variable of type string, and initially it is blank. So we initialize it to blank. Now we must define these show message function. When button is pressed, this show message function will execute it. So here I am defining that show message function. So we define void show message, and inside show message we must call set state method, and inside set state method we must display these text entered in text field by user into these text. So we write down display message is equal to controller dot, and it will update this user interface. So now assume that this button is pressed. So what will happen? This display message function is called. So here you can see this message function, and inside that it stores whatever text entered by user in text field into this variable, and when this widget is rendered it displays that text inside this text. So this is how it updates user interface. Now if you see the screen, it shows some underline in these variable. So let us go to quick fix. Now it says make final. So it optimize our code and create only single instance of text editing
control. Now when you go through this message input app underline, in quick fix it says add key to constructor. So it automatically defines constructor for you, and when you move your mouse pointer over create state inside quick fix, it says add override annotation. So click on that. Now it automatically add override, and when you click on these it says ignore library private types in public API for these lines. So click on that. Now that is also gone. Now our code is ready. Here again you can quick fix by writing constructor using add key to constructor. Now there are no any suggestions or error in this code, so I am making this full screen. Now next we want to run this code inside emulator, so we press Ctrl Shift P to launch emulator. So I am clicking on Flutter launch emulator. So I am clicking on emulator name. Now it will launch my emulator. So you can see emulator is running on screen. Now it is launching my app inside this emulator. So once it is finished, you can see your app running inside emulator. So now my app is launching in emulator. So here you can see that in app bar it displays enter and show message. Here we can enter our text. So I'm writing my name, and when I click on the show message, it displays that text below it. Whenever user changes this text and press the show message button, that text is updated. So this is an example of stateful widget, and to implement stateful widget we must extend stateful widget, and we must create one class which extends state of type message input app, and inside that we must write build method to return updated user interface, and we must define set state method inside show message button, which is called when this button is pressed and we want to change or update user interface. So I hope you understand text field, elevated button, stateful widgets and text.
In a first app, we have used builder. Now let us understand the difference between builder and stateful widgets. Let us understand these by feature. So first is a type. So builder is a widget constructor to get a new build context, while stateful widget is a widget class that can hold state. For example, change user interface over time. Now what is purpose of builder? Purpose of builder is to get a fresh build context within the widget tree, and it usually needed for context sensitive operations like showing, dialog or snack bar. So whenever we want to display snack bar on the screen, we require builder. It is not user interface change. We want to show dialog box or snack bar. It is not example of stateful widget, but some another widgets we want to show on the screen. So that's why we have to use builder. So in case of stateful widget, purpose is to build widget that updates when data or state changes. For example, counter or form input. Now third feature is supports UI updates. So in case of builder, answer is no. It doesn't manage state. It just display either dialog box or snack bar. But in case of stateful widget, so answer is yes. It can update the UI using set state method. Now what are the common uses of builder? It is used to access context deeper in the widget tree, and use of stateful widget is it is used when your widget needs to rebuild on interaction or data changes. Now let us understand example usage. Builder is used for showing snack bar, dialog box from inside scaffold, and stateful widget it is used for dynamic user interfaces like counters, forms or switches. So this is the difference between builder and stateful widget. Now let us conclude. To sum up, Flutter relies on widgets to build everything you see on the screen. Widgets can be stateless or stateful depending on whether they changes over time. Building user interfaces in Flutter is like composing Lego blocks. Each piece fits into another. And with the default Flutter code, you can create basic user interface with just a few lines. Friends, in today's session, we have learned use of builder, snack bar, and We have also learned how to use stateful widget to update your user interface. I hope you understand all the widgets that we have learned in demonstration. So I hope you enjoy this demonstration. Happy coding with Flutter. Thank you and happy learning.